Hi guys, my name is Trevor Sullivan, and in this video I wanted to spend some time showing you how you can use your Android device to back up files up to an Amazon S3 compatible storage service in an automated fashion. Now, this is really useful if you would like to use a self-managed service such as Minio, for example, which is an S3 compatible object storage service, or perhaps you want to use a managed service like Filebase, which is what I'm going to be using here. There's also other storage providers out there that you can use, but imagine that you would rather store your photos that you take with your phone, and videos for that matter, on a different service other than something like Google Photos. Now, I personally pay, I think it's $100 a year for the 2 terabyte plan at Google One, I think they call it now, where I get backups of my photos and videos automatically to Google Photos. But in some cases, you might want to find a lower cost option, or preferably for me, is having a storage option that I can personally manage. As far as I know, Google Photos doesn't really have any easy to use APIs, and so it's a lot easier for me, since I'm familiar with the Amazon S3 APIs, to interact with services that support Amazon S3 storage like Filebase. There's also other services out there like Backblaze, B2 storage, for example. They provide cloud storage as well at a lower cost, and they provide Amazon S3 compatible APIs as well, which is pretty cool. There's also Wasabi S3 compatible storage. This is just another vendor that supports inexpensive storage out there. But what's cool about Filebase is that they provide blockchain-backed storage. So they build on top of a couple of storage networks known as Saya and Storage Networks. And so they provide very competitive pricing, plus they're built on blockchain, so your data is kind of distributed around the world on different blockchain nodes. So they provide an Amazon S3 compatible interface, which allows you to interact with their service using pretty much any application that supports Amazon S3. And so what we're going to take a look at is how to set up an Android device right here. I've got a Google Pixel 4 XL, and we're going to take a look at an application and how to set it up so that you can synchronize photos and video from your Android device here straight up to Filebase storage here. So for starters, this is my account right now. I am basically just uploading a whole ton of data for my work as a backup here. So I've got like 2.2 or 2.3 terabytes worth of data that I am backing up, just to make sure that if my hard drive fails, my external hard drive, which is encrypted, I just want to make sure that I have a backup copy of that available in the event that something goes wrong. In fact, I kind of had a scare recently where on Windows 11 here, I updated to one of the dev preview versions, and I got an error trying to unlock my BitLocker drive when I typed my password, and it was basically telling me that there was a mismatch between my BitLocker version on my drive and the Windows version that I was running. Now, luckily, I was able to clear that up by simply rebooting my system. Thanks, Microsoft. But you know, if something did actually happen to any of my work data, I want to make sure I have a copy of it. Now, I've actually set up a separate Filebase account here. So if you're new to Filebase, then this will be kind of the experience that you see here. You're obviously not going to have any data in there, and the data usage and bandwidth fields here aren't going to have any data to work with. But what we can do is start out by creating a bucket here to actually hold our data. And of course, by default, you don't have any buckets in your account. You have to actually give it a name, and then you can choose from Storage, Skynet, or Saya networks here. Skynet is all public data, so you probably don't want to use that unless you're intentionally wanting to put some data on a publicly accessible endpoint. So I'm just going to stick with Storage for now, and we'll give our bucket a name. Let's see, I'll call it Bacon Party. I think I might have taken that one already. No. So that one is available. Keep in mind that all buckets are in a global namespace, so if somebody else has taken a bucket name, then you won't be able to take that bucket name, so just keep that in mind as you're naming your buckets. Now, once you've got the bucket itself created, we are going to head over to access keys right here, and the access key that we have right here and the secret key make up the credentials that we need in order to connect an application to S3 storage. But first, we need to actually find an application that can do that. Now, if I head over here on my Android device and go to the Google Play Store, I was playing with a light meter earlier so I could tune my new Logitech Brio webcam here. I'm trying to use my personal camera, which is a Lumix G85, trying to use this a little bit more for photography stuff and just personal video stuff. So I'm not going to be using that anymore for my videos here, at least for the time being. But I just got a Logitech Brio today, and it is working out pretty well so far. So what we're going to search for here is S3 storage, I think. And let's see if we have any results here. Yeah, so the one I'm looking for here is actually called Folder Sync. This is a pretty well-reviewed application, 4.6 stars. You really can't go wrong there. They do have a free version here, which contains ads, but they also have the ability to purchase it, so you can remove the ads. I would definitely recommend that you purchase it and support the developer so that they can continue building out the application and improving on it. In fact, they provided me some really good email-based support, even though I'm not a paid user yet of this app, although I am going to pay for it shortly here. But what I'm going to do is go ahead and just install that app, and I'm going to hit open, and we are going to have the ability to make a connection here in a minute, but first we need to set up some permissions here. So we need to make sure that it has permission to manage device storage, basically. I'm just going to go through and grant access to these different file permissions because I trust this application. So we'll say use that data folder. I think these are just some temporary folders that it's using internally for its internal database. We'll add location support because it seems to want that. Actually, let me cancel that. I don't think I need that for now. And then I'll just hit OK. All right, so this is kind of the main screen that you've got here, and what you're going to want to do is go to this middle tab here where you've got the little people, and this is going to allow you to add an account. And I know this card kind of looks like it's an account, but it's actually an advertisement, as you can see. And you can add accounts for many different remote storage providers. So they have an Amazon S3 provider, they have Box.net, they have Dropbox, they've got an FTP server, so you could even use an FTP service if you wanted to. They support a bunch of different storage providers here, even Nextcloud, which is a pretty popular self-hosted storage solution. But what we're going to be doing is using the I actually haven't tried the S3-Compatible. I just realized that that was an option. Initially, I actually was trying to use Amazon S3, but I had some problems with that, and that's why I had to email their support. But their support actually ended up pointing me over to the Minio storage provider. And if you're not familiar with Minio, it's an open source project that allows you to create an S3-compatible object storage service. So that's an option. I might have to try this S3-Compatible later on to see if that works. But since I know the Minio option here works, I'm going to go ahead and choose that. And after this Chinese TikTok ad here, I'm going to go ahead and plug in my storage credentials. So once you're configuring the storage provider here, that's where you're going to bring in your access keys. I'm just going to paste that in. Now, of course, paste isn't going to cooperate with me here, is it? Try that again. Nope, it's not going to work for me. So what I'm actually going to do is log in to Filebase on my mobile device here. Let's go to filebase.com, and I'll be able to copy the values from there. Oops, I just realized that when I do incognito, you can't see it. So let's switch over to here, and we'll head over to filebase.com and get logged in here. Do sign in, and I'll do email. And I can't, let me type in my credentials here really quick. Let me actually close this incognito tab here because I don't think it likes that. So here we go. Here's my login here. So I'm going to go ahead and pause really quick while I type in my password. All right, and now I'm logged in here, and I'm going to go ahead and find my access keys here. So I'll head over to access keys, and I'll copy my access key ID right here. And we'll go ahead and paste that in. And then for my secret access key, we'll go ahead and just scroll over and copy that with a long press. And we'll plug that in for our secret access key. And then down here under connection, this is where we need to plug in the Filebase endpoint. And over on the Filebase website, it tells you that the endpoint is https://s3.filebase.com. But in this particular app, if you try to type that, it won't work. It just wants the DNS name. So leave off the HTTPS and just do s3.filebase.com. And then if you hit test, that should work. And let me bring you back right over here to Android. So here we go, s3.filebase.com. And if you hit test, that should work just fine. And now that we've got our credentials set up, I'm going to say don't save that in my Google account. Now what we need to do is to basically connect our local device to this remote endpoint. And you do that by creating what's known as a folder pair. So you're basically configuring a local folder on your Android device to synchronize up with the Filebase endpoint, or whichever storage provider you chose. If you can use Nextcloud or any of those other storage providers that we saw there. So I'm going to click on plus folder pair, and that's going to take us to the folder pair screen here. And there's a whole bunch of options available on the synchronization configuration here. One of the things that we're going to have to uncheck is this use temp file name scheme. I actually ran into an error when I tried to synchronize. I'll actually leave it checked for now because it's really easy to just kind of demo what it looks like when it fails, and then come back and actually fix it. But as you can see, there's just tons of different options here, even webhooks integrations, and that's a premium feature, but it allows you to basically hook into certain events and trigger an HTTP endpoint after a synchronization is done. I think I don't actually know which options are available inside there, but you could create your own integrations to use cloud services to maybe send yourself a text message, or log to Telegram channels, or log to Discord, or send yourself an email, or pretty much anything that you can think of out there. So what we're going to do for now is just set up a local folder. So I'll come down to local folder, and I'm just going to create a folder. So I'll hit create folder. I'm going to call this Filebase photos, and whoops, photos. There we go. Hit OK. And then I'm going to find that folder in the list here. There it is. And then click on the check mark to confirm. So now we've got this local folder that's configured as our basically anything that we want to synchronize up to the cloud. That's going to be our source folder. And then our destination folder is going to be remote folder. And when we click on remote folder, because it already knows, we already clicked plus folder pair on the Minio connection that we created. And so it's basically just going to pull that up, and it's going to query for the buckets that we have in our account, which of course we just have the one called Bacon Party. So I'll tap on that, and then you can optionally create a folder in there. So I could just say photos, for example, and go into there, and then choose that as my path. So now anything that's in this local folder will get synchronized up to this bucket in Filebase called Bacon Party, into a key prefix or folder called photos. So I'm going to choose the sync type of to remote folder, because if I delete something in that Filebase bucket, I don't want to delete that locally on my device. If you do want to do that, you could do two-way synchronization. That's always an option. But now that I've got that selected, let's go ahead and actually take some photos. So there is a camera out there. It's an open source project called Open Camera. So I'll search for that on my device here, and we'll just get that app installed. And then we'll configure that application to log the photos and videos that we take with it over to different locations. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the gear icon up there in the top right, and go to more camera controls. And then we'll do, let's see, we have to enable this option for storage access framework right here. So go ahead and enable that option. And I'm going to click on Filebase Photos and say use this folder, allow. Now we've configured our save location to be in that directory. So now what we can do is take a couple of photos here. So maybe I'll take a photo of my little Stream Deck here. So there's a photo of my Stream Deck, and maybe I'll take a picture of my camera here, the Lumix G85. So there's a photo, and then maybe I'll switch over to the little camera icon and let it record video. So I'll take a little quick video here. There's my Lumix G85 and my USB battery bank and my Stream Deck. All right, so a few second video there. All right, so now we've got like 3 different files in there. So if I go to my library, we can scroll through those right here in the Open Camera app. But of course, what we want to do is open that up in the synchronization tool and upload that to our bucket. So I'm going to go to the folder sync app. Let's open that up, and let's go ahead and hit sync here. And I'm going to open up this Bacon Party bucket, photos, and we can just go ahead and refresh here to watch for our files. So what you're going to see happen here is that basically what happens in the folder sync app is it creates a file, or an S3 object technically, with a tacket part extension on there. And it does that just as kind of a way to create a temporary file. So it uploads to kind of a temporary file name, and then it renames the object to the actual target file name. But it doesn't seem to work properly. Basically, once the synchronization completes, I get a little error icon here. And so that's where we have to actually disable that temporary file naming feature, and that should fix it. So I think it's still in progress here, because you can see the little icon here says syncing, not yet completed. Let me go to history here really quick. We don't have anything in there just yet. It's probably synchronizing the video, because the video file is quite a bit larger, and I actually have a simultaneous upload going on with rclone to my other Filebase account, where I've got, more than half a terabyte of data so far. It's been running for a couple of weeks at this point. So we'll go ahead and just let that attempt to synchronize. And then once it's done, we can go ahead and give it another try. But I'm going to disable this checkbox for the use temp file scheme right down here. And we are going to go ahead and try it again. So let's see if it actually did complete successfully. Yeah, see, it's not finishing there. So what I'm actually going to do is just tap on the icon to cancel synchronization. So if I hit the, let's do reset maybe. Oh no, there, it just finally failed. So see this little icon here, basically saying it fails. If I go to history and then open up this history item, and then open up this log here, you can see that we get this weird error saying a header you provided implies functionality that is not implemented. I actually need to send that off to the developer as well, because I think maybe they can actually fix this. But for the time being, all we need to do is to uncheck use temp file scheme, and then rerun a synchronization job. And in a couple of minutes here, it should, fair enough, there's our first file without the extra file extension. There's our second one. And then that video will probably take a few more seconds to synchronize. But now we can basically set up a synchronization job and get all of our data stored up in there. And what's really nice about this mobile app is that we can actually schedule synchronizations too. So on this scheduling tab, and this isn't a premium feature, this is actually included in the free tier. But if you check off that box, you can set up a synchronization interval. You could say maybe synchronize every hour, for example. And you could say only sync if charging, maybe set it to every 5 minutes. If it's set to only sync if charging, so that way you get a lot more frequent updates. But as you can see, we now have this green check mark indicating that the job is complete. And sure enough, there's our video as well as our image files. So everything seems to be working pretty well now. So just make sure that you use the Minio account type instead of the Amazon S3 account type in this mobile app. And then also make sure that you go over to the advanced options here and disable that use temp file scheme, so it's not creating those files with that tacket part extension, and it will go ahead and put your data in here like you'd expect. So if I download that file and just open it up, it should be, all right, there's a photo of my Stream Deck, albeit a very dusty Stream Deck. And then come back to this photos folder, and let's download this other item here really quick and check it out. So we'll open that up, and sure enough, that's the picture of my Lumix G85. Awesome. So that's kind of how you can set everything up. You can set it to be a scheduled synchronization, but this just makes it really easy to get your data up into Filebase, and then you can use other utilities to replicate that data or to synchronize it down to your PC or whatever it is that you want to do. Because it's S3-compatible object storage, you could actually build like a miniature website application, like a gallery that just plugs into that data and can show you your files, kind of like how Google Photos does. When you go to photos.google.com, it kind of pulls up your photos in a chronological fashion. You can click on them and view your photos and video in more detail. There might already be an application like that. I'm not quite sure, but if you guys happen to know of one, go ahead and just leave a comment here so that other people can learn about it, including myself. In any case, that is the folder sync app for Android, as well as how to use it with file-based storage. And you don't have any dependencies on Google Photos at that point in time. So thanks for watching, and if you'd like to support my work here on my YouTube channel, then I would definitely recommend that you go over and support my employer, which is currently CBT Nuggets. We've got a lot of training out there, a lot of IT training, a lot of automation training, cloud training for AWS and Azure, PowerShell, Python training, and a whole bunch of stuff like that. So if you just head out here, we actually have a free account as well. So if you just Google CBT free, it'll take you over to this free IT training page. You can sign up without a credit card just to sample some of the training that we have available on our site. And if you go down here, you can see some of the free skills that we have down in this list right here. You can kind of scroll through that and see what we've got available. Like I said, we've got some PowerShell training here, some AWS training, we've got Linux training, security training, that kind of stuff. So feel free to check them out. We've got tons of other training in our paid subscriptions as well, and I'd love to hear what you think of it. If you get some value out of it, we're actively building out new content every single week. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. Cheers.